Shabbat Shalom, and welcome back to the Way of Truth through Torah. And guys, today is going to be a really short lesson. We're going to see if we can make it short. Everybody's like, we're going to see. We're checking it out. Sherry, are you cold now?
Yes.
I'm so sorry.
I don't think it's done anything.
And it's gone up in temperature. It's actually at 71 now. Okay, so our Torah portion today is what? Teruma. What does that mean?
Measurements?
Mary's like, I have no idea.
Hey, it's Greek to me.
It's Hebrew.
I know, but it's common.
Gotcha.
That's common. Just, it's Greek.
So, Teruma is the offerings.
Oh,
And
okay.
guys, before we even get started, we're going to be in Exodus 25:1 through Exodus 27:19. And it really is going to be a simple study. We're not going to rack your brain today. But we have had some beautiful drawings by our lovely artist, Bailey Green.
Oh my gosh, look what you did here too.
Look at this. So we'll probably end up taking the computer around so that you can see. And Bailey, I'm going to ask you one more thing. While we're going through, I'm going to give you measurements that you can put by these articles. We're not going to be there for a little while, but when we do, if you'll put the measurements out beside them, because how many of you know how big the ark was? Am I running over you? I'm running over some. How many of you know how big the 5 cubits? How big do you think the ark is?
80 cubits.
80 cubits. The Ark of the Covenant is 2.5 cubits by 3. So it's really not that big.
I thought you meant the dwelling place.
2.5 cubits?
What, 6 by 9 foot?
It's like 3 by 4.
2.5
It's
cubits
very small.
at 18 to 20 inches would be 50 inches wide, so that's roughly 48 inches
4 foot.
long. Yeah, and then what does it say? Cubit and a half wide, so at using 20 inches that'd be 30. So that's roughly just
3 by
under
4.
feet. Yeah.
So isn't that shocking? Because I was like, man, these guys had to carry this thing. It had to be heavy, and I'm sure it was.
Well, it would have been heavy with all the gold and the wood.
It
that
would
was some
have.
quality wood, and then the cherubim, at least, if I'm not mistaken, were solid. Handcrafted. So that would have been where the weight was.
Yes. Yes.
So was there 4 carriers or 6?
There were 4 on one on each corner.
Yes.
And
And I didn't know if they were.
They slid a pole through the ring.
They slid a
Yep.
pole through the rings. Yeah, Jack's exactly
and,
right.
and everything was covered, so you couldn't even touch it.
Well, two
It
did.
was a
I made a
whole-
mistake.
Huh?
You wouldn't want to touch it.
No, you wouldn't want to touch it. Well, who did?
I don't remember his name, but he didn't
King,
last very long.
King David was very upset when seems like it started with O or Utsi or Uriah. Uriah.
So
I
I'll
think.
say this. I'll preface before we even get into our Torah portion, because this will give you something interesting to think about. I came across this a couple of weeks back. Because this Torah portion, I mean, of course, none of Yahweh's words are boring, but this one can be a little bit heavy on the ears. What's fascinating about this particular Torah portion to me is somebody once asked Nikola Tesla, and I don't know if everybody knows who Nikola Tesla is, but he was probably like the Da Vinci of the modern era. A lot of the technologies that we use today, he had talked about back in the late 1800s, early 1900s, and a lot of the stuff that we use today, these little devices here, he said in 1920 that
That's
we would
right.
one day have wireless communication ability where we could talk to each other instantaneously, and it would be through a device that could fit in our vest pocket. Well, that's all interesting, but why is that interesting, and what does it have to do with our Torah portion? Somebody once asked Nikola Tesla, what's the source of all of your ideas? Why do you have all these insane ideas? Where do they come from? And he said, if man would just open the scriptures and look at the words of the Father,
Wow.
he would discover the source of all things that need to be known. And he
That
was
is so
referring
true.
literally to, I think, this particular portion is insight into the mind of Yahweh in terms of how things we cannot see work and how they are knit together. And so I think that's what Tesla was talking about, is probably specifically what we're about to go through.
Okay, and Tesla, a lot of his inventions and ideas, what happened to them?
They were all taken by the government and put into black ops.
So, guys,
Germany.
if you have any grand ideas of something to build,
Keep them to yourself.
don't copyright it. Don't give it to the government. Don't go try to sell it to General Electric. I'm just saying.
Yeah, we have him to thank for alternating current, so the lights and things, those work thanks to Tesla.
Yep,
Make it personal use only, huh?
that's, well, yes, sell it on the side or whatever. So let's start. You ready?
Yeah.
25.
Yep.
And we're going to start, I'm actually going to start by telling you how much of these materials were used in the wilderness. So when Israel left Egypt, what did they take? Everything. They took everything. They took the gold, the silver, the bronze, the copper. If it wasn't nailed down, like Kayla said, they packed it. They took it. They took the horses. Well, I don't know if they took the horses. They did take the sheep and the cattle. I don't remember seeing horses.
Well, the horses weren't very commonly used.
No, they weren't.
No, Pharaoh was pulling his chariots to go after him, so they probably left some horses.
They left them some horses, but they took the materials, the gold materials, like
The jewels.
everything that they're making this tabernacle out of, Yahweh provided from the Egyptians. So, but listen to this.
Killed an empire to build it.
Yeah, that's right. We robbed Egypt. Actually, we didn't. They gave them. He said that they, what did he say? You're going to what Egypt on your way out? Basically, strip them.
Yeah.
And that's what they did. Okay, so there was an estimated 29 talents of gold. That is 1.5 tons of gold. 55,860 ounces. And this valuation I have here was
It's
back in,
outdated, so give me the ounce number. I know the current amount.
it's 55,680. 55,680 is
Gold
what,
closed at
2,200?
2,041 Friday.
Okay.
That's 113.6 million.
113.6 million. I had it at 89 million back in 2002. No, that wasn't in 2. It was 22.
Silver probably hadn't changed a whole lot. How many ounces is that?
The number of ounces, 100 talents of silver, and it was 4.5 tons, which is 112,000 ounces.
Be about 2.5 million right now.
And I had 2.016 million. We had 70 talents of copper or brass, which would be kind of the same, which was 4 tons of copper or brass.
Copper's trading at about $455 an ounce right
Back
now.
then, though, copper was a lot more valuable than today.
Yeah, it was. Because it was a
Tin
alloy
is
metal.
difficult to get your hands on.
Well, back then gold was not that valuable, was it?
It's a lot more common. But
It was
still
more
valuable.
common?
Yeah.
Okay,
It's
so
easier to get.
A metal like copper would have been less abundant back then.
okay.
Significantly less abundant.
Did they-
Copper isn't it, it's tin. The only places you could get tin were Cornwall and Kabul.
Right.
Oh, really?
That's why Joseph of Arimathea was so rich. He was a tin merchant.
And they actually sent the Phoenicians over here to the U.S., didn't they? To
Not
mine,
for tin, but for
mine the copper?
Right.
Okay, so 1 talent of gold equals 120 pounds. I'm just giving you weights. 1 talent of silver equals 100 pounds. So there's different weights there. They had 48 beams, 100 loops, 100 hooks.
And they refer to a hook, I think, we'll get into it, but I think each hook
bob.
is a shekel,
Yeah.
formed from a shekel.
That's just for the tabernacle. This is interesting, and this came from Rico Cortez. 248 pieces between the beams, the loops, and the hooks. So there's 248 parts of the human body.
It's funny.
And there's 248 positive commands.
Affirmations.
Yeah. And so we're going to get into this a little bit later, but the lights around the tabernacle on the outside. Okay, on the outside of the tabernacle, where'd the light come from?
The outside?
Mm-hmm.
I would imagine
If you
the cloud that was above it with Yahweh in it.
at that and the sun
Well, yeah.
and the moon. Okay, if you once you went into the holy place behind the first curtain, what lit it?
Is she behind the glory?
No, that's the Holy of Holies. When you went behind the first curtain,
The menorah.
the menorah. So we've got the menorah, and it was quite tall. It was pretty big.
It's 6 or 7 feet tall.
Yes, and that's what lit the Holy the holy place. When you went into the Holy of Holies, Grant, what lit that? That was the glory of Yahweh. There was no light in there. The only thing that was in there was what? The ark. That was all that was in there. And so we're going to get into this today. It's going to be beautiful, and I like this.
Mm-hmm.
That may be boring to Mr. Ashton.
It's not boring. It's just if you're used to reading, stories and adventures and things, then this part's like, this is how you measure it, and this is how you're going to build it. And I mean, if you're into building blueprints, this is pretty good stuff.
I was like, this just fascinated me, but oy vey, whatever. 25, Exodus 25, verse 1. And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, speak to the children of Yasharal, that they take up a contribution for me from everyone, and here's a key, from everyone whose heart moves him, you shall take up my contribution.
Voluntary.
Yes. Would you go to Mark? I didn't do very good on notes. It seemed like this week was so weird. Mark.
Busy week.
It was a weird, busy week. Mark 12, 25 through 44.
Mark 12, 25 through 44. All right, let's see here. 12:25. For when they rise from the dead, they neither marry nor are given in marriage, but are as messengers in the heavens. Am I in the right spot?
Oh. It didn't originally, but it probably is. Keep going.
And concerning the dead that they rise, have you not read in the book of Moshe at the bush how Elohim spoke to him, saying, I am the Elohim of Abraham, and the Elohim of Yitzhak, and the Elohim of Yaakov?
Go 42 through 44. How's that?
Let's do that.
That sound better?
That'll work.
Sounds more better?
And a poor widow came and threw in 2 small copper coins, which amount to a cent. And calling near his taught ones, he said to them, truly I say to you, that this poor widow has put in more than all those putting into the treasury. For they all put in out of their excess, but she out of her poverty put in all that she had, her entire livelihood.
You whose heart is into giving, this is what he wants. He wants a heart that is like, everything that she had, she put into that offering bowl. That was what she gave, everything. And for her to make it, she's a poor widow. She's going to have to go out and sell oil or corn or some product. Okay, go to 2 Corinthians 9. Maybe this one's right, 6 through 15.
2 Corinthians 9, 6 through 15.
Yes, sir.
I think this is right. And this, he who sows sparingly shall also reap sparingly, and he who sows on blessing shall also reap on blessing. Let each one give as he purposes in his heart, not of grief or of necessity, for Elohim loves a joyous giver. And Elohim is able to make all favor overflow toward you, that you, always having all you need in every way, have plenty for every good work. As it has been written, he scattered abroad, he gave to the poor, his righteousness remains forever. Keep going.
If you want,
There's
yes.
some good stuff in there.
I like it.
And he who supplies seed to the sower and bread for food shall supply and increase the seed you have sown and increase the fruit of your righteousness, being enriched in every way for all simplicity, which works out thanksgiving to Elohim through us. Because the rendering of this service not only supplies the needs of the set-apart ones, but also is overflowing through many thanksgiving to Elohim. Through the proof of this service, they esteem Elohim on the submission of your confession to the good news of Messiah, and generosity in sharing with them and all men, and by their prayer for you who long for you because of the exceeding favor of Elohim in you. Thanks also to Elohim for his unspeakable gift.
Isn't it beautiful?
Good one.
It's out of the heart, guys. Where's your heart? Everyone here brings from their heart every single Shabbat. Mm-hmm. I see it. I've seen when y'all bought the seifers for everyone. I've seen it when you provide for each other. Guys, that's the heart that Abba loves. He just loves that heart.
That's why you should open us in prayer.
Would you do that?
Oh, you want me to?
Yes.
Okay. Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for your set-apart time and your Shabbat that we get to come together as an assembly and study your word and your scripture. Father, we ask that your spirit would move upon us today and just open our eyes and ears so that we might hear your instructions. We ask that you would apply these things, even if it's just the study of how you built the various parts of the tabernacle. Show us where it applies in our life. Help us to understand where these things are important. Help us to understand what you were intending for us to see through the instructions that are laid out here in this Torah portion. Father, we thank you for the struggles and the different things that we went through this week. I think we all learned different things from the different parts of life we went through, whether it was positive or negative or somewhere in between. And so we thank you for every individual path that we're on. And we just thank you for the ability to come together and be here. And Father, even though we live in a world that's just filled with technology and filled with all these various different things we depend on, we know ultimately the only thing we should depend on is you. And so, Father, we ask you to just be with us and teach us what you'd want us to hear today. And we say these things in the precious name of your Son. We exalt you. Amen.
Amen. That was a beautiful prayer, and thank you so much for remembering, because we just jumped right in, didn't we? My fault.
No worries.
Can I say something?
I'd love for you
You
to.
know, a lot of people feel like when they do something for somebody else, you do it out of the kindness of your heart. It all comes from love, and then that people say, well, you know, it's all about your works. Well, if you set out to do the work, you're not really doing it for him. It has to come from the heart. It's a gift. It's love. You do for somebody, and it's his will.
Yahusha said, when the Pharisees asked him, what are the greatest commandments? He said, love the Lord your God, love Yahweh your Elohim with all of your might, all of your strength, and all of your heart, and love your neighbor as yourself, and upon this rest all the Torah and the prophets. And so the source is love according to Yahusha.
Right, and so with that, I mean, whatever you do for somebody, it's not, well, look what I did. You know, I did this. It's not that. It's you did it out of love, which is the gift he gave you. So
Greater than a man lay down his life
that's
for
right.
another.
So that's where your good works comes in, if it comes from the heart.
And you know what's interesting is Scripture literally tells us that if you go out bragging about it, it's not
That's
credited
right.
to you as
That's right.
as a blessing.
That's
Nope.
right.
So don't let the left hand know what the right hand's doing, or is it the right hand that you're
One of
supposed to?
those.
One of these is supposed to be kept in. No, yeah. So you don't do things for self-grandiosa,
Absolutely.
but we do it because of Yah. And the things that we do for others, what is that? It's the fruits. That's the fruits of the
By
Spirit.
your fruits you will know them. By their fruits you will know them.
That's absolutely, and we're going to hit that this afternoon in Ezra.
All
The
those
fruits.
spirits are, you know, they're just amazing. It's just where a human being moves from, I think.
Let me go to Matthew 5 real quick.
Yeah, please do.
And then we'll get back to this Torah portion. But that's,
You know what?
that brings up a real good point.
Yes, and I like that. Mary, look what you've done.
So,
I love the fruit of the spirit. I mean, I just do. I
Yeah,
love
I do.
everything it says.
I do
Yeah.
too.
You
So,
know.
let's read them. In Matthew 5, I'm going to start in, well, I'll just start in 1. But when he saw the crowds, he went up on a mountain, and when he was seated, his taught ones came to him. And having opened his mouth, he was teaching them, saying, Blessed are the poor in spirit, because theirs is the reign of the heavens. Blessed are those who mourn, because they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, because they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, because they shall be filled. Blessed are the compassionate, because they shall obtain compassion. Blessed are the clean in heart, because they shall see Elohim. Blessed are the peacemakers, because they shall be called sons of Elohim. Blessed are those persecuted for righteousness' sake, because theirs is the reign of the heavens. Blessed are you when they reproach and persecute you, and falsely say every wicked word against you for my sake. Rejoice and be glad, because your reward in the heavens is great. For in this way they persecuted the prophets who were before you. You are the salt of the earth, but if the salt becomes tasteless, how shall it be seasoned? For it is no longer of any use, but to be thrown out and to be trodden down by men. You are the light of the world. It is impossible for a city to be hidden on a mountain. Nor do they light the lamp and put it under a basket, but on a lampstand, and it shines to all those in the house. Let your light so shine before men, so that they see your good works and praise your Father who is in the heavens. Do not think that I came to destroy the Torah of the prophets. I did not come to destroy, but to complete. For truly I say to you, till the heavens and the earth shall pass away, one yod or one tittle shall by no means pass from the Torah till all be done. Whoever then breaks one of the least of these commands and teaches men so shall be called least in the reign of the heavens. But whoever does and teaches them, he shall be called great in the reign of the heavens. For I say to you that unless your righteousness exceeds that of the scribes and Pharisees, you shall by no means enter into the reign of the heavens.
So were the scribes and Pharisees righteous?
No, in their own mind.
In their own minds.
No.
They were self-righteous.
They were self-righteous. Thank you, Kaylin. And really, did they follow Torah?
No.
No, they followed
What did they
Talmud.
follow?
They follow
What
the
was it?
traditions of men from the
Judaism.
Talmud.
Judaism, Talmud.
Mishnah.
They followed the Talmud. Okay, that was very good. So that is the fruit of the Spirit. And I believe it's echoed in Corinthians as well. So that is, rather than works, the fruit of the Spirit is going to show where your heart is. It always will. And you don't have to brag about it.
And Jessica, you want to read that, Jess?
I've already moved away from it. I was
Okay.
just sending it to you.
She
Oh.
sent Galatians 5.
That's
I was
it.
gonna say,
It's
5:22.
Galatians 5. Yes, it
But
is.
the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy,
Mm.
peace, patience, kindness, goodness, trustworthiness, gentleness, self-control. Against such there is no Torah. And those who are of Messiah have impaled the flesh with its passions and the desires. If we live in the Spirit, let us also walk in the Spirit. Let us not become conceited, provoking one another or envying one another. And that's Galatians 5:22 through 26. Thanks, Jess.
And that puts it as, that's as simple as you can get it. These are the fruits of the Spirit. When you're doing the fruits of the Spirit, there's a Torah. You are the Torah. You're the walking,
The
talking,
living
living,
Torah.
breathing Torah, just as our Savior was. So you're following it because you're following the Spirit.
Absolutely.
I mean, and that's what's beautiful about Shaul's writings. He didn't say do away with it. He said become it. Imitate our Messiah. Those were good.
Yeah, I mean, I believe that if you have the fruit of the Spirit in you, your good works just comes out.
It will.
It just comes out
That's the
naturally. You can't help it.
That's right. You are exactly right. And you will not be following after the other guy.
You can't.
Huh?
You can't.
Hasatan.
The,
Where there's light, darkness has to flee.
works of the flesh versus
Works of the
not
Spirit.
being lustful of the works of the flesh.
Mm-hmm.
It's 19. In 19. Galatians 19.
Okay, are y'all ready to go
Alright.
forward? That was a good little.
That's a good rabbit hole.
That was a really good rabbit hole. Totally
word,
part of what we're doing here. And this is a contribution which you take up from them: gold and silver and bronze, and blue and purple and scarlet material, and fine linen and goat's hair, and ram skins dyed red, and fine leather and acacia wood, oil for the light, spices for the anointing oil, and for the sweet incense, shoham stones and stones to be set in the shoulder garment and in the breastplate. I can't wait to get to that next week. That's going to be so cool. And so the acacia wood, what's interesting about the acacia wood, it's also called Sitka wood. Have you heard it called that?
Mm-hmm.
It is like waterproof. It's insect proof. Mesquite is insect proof. Cypress is insect proof.
Yeah, there's a wood.
For some reason, they don't like to eat it.
in the Philippines that's probably the most likely candidate. It's just absolutely beautiful. It's like a deeper red than cedar.
Is it teak?
No,
Australia, too.
it's a I forget what it's called, but it's a very precious wood.
Isn't it the same wood they used on the
Yeah.
ark?
That's
You know
gopher
what?
wood.
Gopher wood?
Yes, it's
That's
gopher
what
wood.
I'm thinking of.
But you know, it's beautiful. I looked it up on the internet yesterday, and it's a beautiful
Look
piece
at
of wood
you.
when it's cut. Oh
Uh-huh.
my gosh.
Yeah, it's like a
Yeah.
deep. Is it the deep red color?
Deep, well, it looks just almost like cedar.
Yeah, just a
But
prettier
it's-
cedar.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's beautiful.
Guys, these beams were not small.
Mm-hmm.
They had to carry these from Egypt. They carried them the whole time.
They didn't
But
find
you
them in
know-
the desert.
Well, see, that's what I thought. Well, they're out there in the desert. Where does
Yeah.
a tree like this grow out there? So I looked it up, and I sent it to her. We're all the different places that it's in Asia.
Mm-hmm.
It's in Australia, America,
Mm-hmm.
believe it or not.
Yeah.
Where else did it say?
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, yeah, it was in Alaska too.
Oh, wow.
Well, you have to keep
No.
in mind that the Arabian Peninsula was quite possibly wet at that time.
Yeah.
Because there's a river that bisects, or a dry riverbed that bisects the Arabian Peninsula.
Would have been
Nobody
green.
really knows when it dried up. So it could have been quite
That was a
wet.
trade route.
Yeah.
They had lots of merchants that would bring their wares into Egypt as well. Of course, some of them they left with the Israelites, so they may have been the beam salesmen, the wood traders. Okay, and they shall make me. I want you to listen, because the Hebrew words here, there's two different words that are used in this place. They shall make me a set apart place, and I shall dwell in their midst. According to all that I show you, the pattern of the dwelling place and the pattern of all of its furnishings, make it exactly so. So you go back up here to 8, and it says, they shall make me a mikdash. And the dwelling place is actually mishkan. The mikdash is the person. It's the dwelling inside you.
And so the Sefer has this as, and let them make me a sanctuary that I may dwell among them. Yeah.
Which would be inside you. He wants you to be his dwelling place. But then he says, and I'm going to dwell in your midst. So make me a set apart place, which would be the Mishkan. So the Mikdash is actually Hebrew word 4720. It's part of the word kadosh, to be set apart or sacred, a set apart space in you, a holy place that represents something treasured. What are y'all? You're his treasured, very peculiar children. A place of beauty and worship, a refuge and a place of rest. This is what he wants in each of you. Now, we don't know where the ark is today, do we? Now, we can go into 2nd Baruch and we can see what was done with it, and we'll do that shortly. But we don't have access to it. Yeah, and we don't have the tabernacle, and we don't have the temple.
It's suggested
That's you.
that it may not be in Scripture, but it's suggested, I believe, in Revelations that it's in the holy, it's in Yahweh's throne room right now.
Wow.
Even though
original
2nd
is.
Baruch.
Yeah, the original is.
It's not really known where the copy on earth is.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
But in 2nd Baruch, it does say that the earth opened up and the angels carried it down in there. We don't know where.
Yeah.
And I've heard tell that the Jewish people have it. Where?
You said Oak Island?
Yeah, I've got that up when we want to read that.
Okay, in Mishkan, the Mishkan is Hebrew word 4908, and it is for tabernacle. It's a house or a residence to live in. So he wants them to make him a house, but he wants his dwelling place to be within us. I found that to be really a cool thing.
Well, not to go down too deep of a rabbit hole, but when Yahusha died, the veil of the temple was rent. The temple quit working. It
Yes.
quit working until it was destroyed in 70 AD. In fact, we don't have to go down the rabbit hole, but the scarlet cord coming up over and over and over and over on one particular
It
line.
never
Never worked
changed.
again.
Yep.
And then that's when the Ruach HaKodesh was received within us from that point forward. I mean, that happened when his apostles began doing the ministry, but from that point forward, that Holy of Holies was within us, where the Holy Spirit dwells.
But you know, the Holy of Holies wasn't rent. It was a holy,
It was
set-apart place because the soldiers
Yeah.
saw it from the Mount of Crucifixion.
Oh, so the actual wall.
So it was the outside. Well, it was the front. It was the front opening on the set-apart. So you've got the set-apart and then the Holy of Holies.
Yeah. And then
So the set-apart place is what ripped.
the veil was torn.
The veil was
inside.
torn so everyone could
Yeah.
come into the holy place.
Yeah. Well, there
But
was
the
nothing
Holy of
there
Holies.
anymore.
Yeah.
It's no longer holy.
Yeah, that's right. You're supposed to be holy now. Okay, so guys, it's important that we do everything the way Yah sets it up. Everything. And he's giving them he says make it exactly. So, I mean, that is important to him. That is very important to him. And so they shall make an ark of acacia wood 2.5 cubits long and 1.5 cubits wide and 1.5 cubits high. So you're going to have 3 3 3/4 foot by 2 1/4 by 2 1/4.
Roughly, yeah.
That's so a
Cubits,
cubit.
18 to 20 inches.
Yeah, and it's more accurate on a man, but it's measured from the elbow to the tip of your middle finger, about 18 inches. But there was also a temple cubit. So I don't know what the difference was. I think the temple cubit may have been longer. So Bailey,
But later, we've got measurements
Yeah,
back here.
on the ark, it's going to be 3 3/4 foot wide, 2 1/4 foot deep, and 2 1/4 foot high.
2 1/4.
1/4. Or
Is she putting quarters up there?
You went too fast for her, Mickey.
I'm so sorry.
Would a temple cubit be also an extended cubit?
A what?
An extended cubit?
It could be.
That's 7 hand breadths.
Yeah. I mean, so there's 2 different cubits, and so you're just okay. 3 3/4 cubits long, which would be almost 4 foot.
Interesting, the scriptures is very specific. It says 17.5 inches for a cubit and 20.4 for an extended.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So guys, listen. So according to the back of the scriptures, Ashton's got 17.5
That's what it
inches,
says, yeah.
which would short it. Instead of it being 16 inches, it's going to be 15.5 inches, right?
17.5.
12 plus 6 is 18, 17.5 inches.
Yeah.
But if it's a temple cubit, it's 20.
It says 20.4 on an extended cubit, so I'm guessing that's the temple cubit.
Huh.
That must be where the 17 to 20 comes from, because I'd read 18 to 20 inches, so that makes sense.
So they just round it down to 18 to make it simple. Keep it simple, Sally. Yes, ma'am.
The internet has got a really nice display of the and all the embellishments and everything
Oh,
around
yeah.
it. Yeah,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
Really, it gives you a good vision.
Well, and there's one that you can take a virtual tour, and
Yeah.
we'll play it towards the end so that everybody can see it. We won't do it live stream because we'll get bleeped on it. You shall overlay it with clean gold, inside and outside. You shall overlay it, and you shall make on it a molding of gold all around, and you shall cast 4 rings of gold for it, and put them in its 4 corners. 2 rings on one side, 2 rings on the other side, and you shall make poles of acacia wood, overlay them with gold. And you shall put the poles into the rings on the sides of the ark to lift up the ark by them. The poles are in the rings of the ark, and they are not taken from it. And into the ark you shall put the witness which I give you. And what's interesting, guys, is if you go into the Targum, it literally says that the broken commandments, the broken tablets, they're in there as well. So that, and what's interesting about that is that the scribes today and back in the days, if they made an error, they couldn't destroy the works, which may be what a lot of those scrolls were.
It's not just the Targums that says that.
Qumran.
It's elsewhere.
Is it in?
It says in 16 in the Sefer, and you shall put into the ark the testimony which I shall give you, and there's an Aleph and Tav right before
Okay,
testimony.
but most people think it's the one that's complete and whole, the tablets that Moshe didn't break.
Oh, I agree, yeah.
Yeah, but the parts that Moshe broke, the
those are
sapphire
in there
one,
too?
there it says
Gotcha.
in the Targum, it says the broken commandments are in there as well.
Something different, gotcha.
Yeah, when Moshe broke all 10 of those commandments.
Well, he was
Remember
a little
that?
irritated.
He was. I can't say I wouldn't do the same thing.
No.
I mean, truly. So I want to go over gold. Okay? Because there were different grades of gold. There's actually 7 grades of gold. The first grade is good. The second is pure, and it's so well refined that there's no impurities. The third is ductile, which is a thread gold. The fourth is a cloth cord, and it's the most precious. And the cloth cord is used in some of this.
It was common in Ophir. If Ophir is the Philippines, then a lot of the things they made out of gold was cloth from their own secular history. Not
Yep.
even taking from scripture, but from their secular history.
And that's what God culture really
Yeah, he
kind of pushes.
borrowed that slightly, but yeah.
Who did he borrow that from?
I don't recall offhand, but there's a series of VHS tapes from the 70s that cover everything that's covered in the Ophir series in God Culture.
Oh,
almost to the T.
man.
And you can find it on the internet, but it's not
Fat
easy to
rat.
I don't know that he took it from there, but it's very similar.
Well, and there are times that we actually discover something, and it's been there's nothing new under the sun. So it's possible that he did discover
And the
it as
Spirit
well.
speaks to different people at different times and shows them the same things at
That's
different
right.
times, so
Okay, the fifth type is purified gold. It's like gold leaf, and women, y'all know about gold leaf for walls.
It's almost food grade.
This says that it put all the other golds to shame. It was so reflective and so brilliant. Then you've got precious gold, and it is the color of sulfur. And there's one more, blood gold. I had never heard of this. It is the color of bull's blood. I had never heard of that one.
Now we have rose gold that they put a little bit of brass back in to make it more expensive, even though it's cheaper.
Oh, really?
I think that's how they make rose gold.
Oh, well, this one is blood gold. So I wonder if it's
I don't
just
know what that one is.
I don't either. I've never seen it, nor had I heard of it.
And pure gold is fragile. It's soft. And part of the reason that they have different grades of carat of gold is because you add these other alloys and it strengthens the gold.
Do you think that's why the old miners would
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
to
Pure
see
gold
if
is
they could break
Yeah.
it?
Yeah, pure gold is soft. So, a lot of people are like, oh, well, my ring is 22 karat gold. Well, that's real easy to determine or not. If you take it like that and do this, it'll flatten. And you don't want to wear a 22 karat gold ring because
I wouldn't think
pretty
so.
useless. But you get into 18 and 14, then it's actually refined for jewelry.
Wow.
A lot of women's necklaces and stuff, more fragile types of jewelry, earrings will be 22, but it's pretty rare to have jewelry in 22.
Because it is very, very fragile.
Yeah.
Okay, we're in 17. And you shall make a lid of atonement of clean gold. And while I'm reading this, Seth, would you do me well, heck, we can't do that. Would you bring that board over here so we can get a good look at that? I really would like to put, what we'll do at the end of class is we'll put all these utensils and the ark and the menorah and the slaughter place. We'll put all this online so that y'all can see it, because Bailey has done just an amazing job with this. And to think about walking into the holy place and seeing these, even into the courtyard of the tabernacle on the outside, is just fascinating. And she even put the grate on the slaughter place.
Yeah. Seth,
Which
is
was
it
for
possible
cooking.
for you to take a picture and insert it into the
I
live stream
tried. It won't
comments?
let me do it.
Gotcha.
Aw.
No, it won't let me.
Is it because of your phone?
No, it's
Because
It's
of what
just
we're
won't let you.
doing?
It's probably because it's live.
Oh, man.
Yep.
Can we add it later?
I can try.
Probably.
Okay.
Let me see if I can get a old teacher to do it.
Okay. And you shall make a lid of atonement of clean gold. So here you have the clean gold. A cubit and a half wide. And you shall make 2 cherubim of gold. Make them of beaten work at the 2 ends of the lid of atonement. And make 1 cherub at one end and the other cherub at the other end. And make the cherubim from the lid of atonement at its 2 ends. And the cherubim shall be spreading out their wings above it, covering the lid of atonement with their wings, with their faces toward each other, and the faces of the cherubim turned down toward the lid of atonement. And you shall put the lid of atonement on top of the ark, and put into the ark the witness which I shall give you. And it goes on in 22, it says, I shall meet with you there and from above the lid of atonement, from between the 2 cherubim which are on the ark of witness. I shall speak to you all that which I command you concerning the children of Yasharal. So guys, in the Targum, it literally says, my memory, I will send my word, my memory, my breathed out word to meet with you here. Well, who is this speaking all this?
Later.
It's Yahusha.
It is Yahusha anyway.
He is the word.
He is the word. He is the breathed out word. So the word will meet with the high priest. And only one person can go into the Holy of Holies.
The current high priest.
The current high priest. And when we get into the Torah portion next week, we're going to see the ephod and the shoulder stones, the shoham stones on his shoulder, everything that he has to wear, the linen garment. And it's all about frequency. And I think that's what you're talking about.
That's exactly
with-
what I was talking about.
with
That's what Tesla was
Tesla.
referring to.
It's just amazing.
Yahweh created it, so he knew exactly how to utilize it.
It's almost like an electrical force field in there. And
There's something there for sure. I mean, if he's everything and everywhere, then this is some sort of a frequency device that had a point to it. And I think that's what Tesla was getting at, is that this particular reference is unlocking some sort of a secret into how the universe that Yahweh has created functions. And Tesla somehow managed to understand it. Now, whether he did that through the leading of the Spirit or not, I don't know, because he never says. He just says if you study this, all the secrets of the universe are hidden within the Bible.
I bet he made an ark.
He might have.
I bet he, because if you are curious about this, you're going to set about making it. Okay, that was a yawn, not a hey.
I don't know.
But you know, I looked, when I looked this up yesterday, you know, these on the wings that he's talking about, they weren't just on the ends, you know.
Curved in, almost
yes,
touching each other.
almost touching each other.
Yeah.
They were, and it was just a black and white sketch. But
Almost
I was
like an
like,
arc
oh my
point, huh?
gosh.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
It sure
Or
is.
like, you know, if you take 2 points of an electrical arc, you just take 2 wires and get them close enough together. If you have the right frequencies through them, they'll arc.
Wow,
It was
that's
amazing.
a good
And
point.
it happens to be called an arc. It's just so interesting.
Would you go ahead and read 2 Baruch 6?
I already have it up.
Oh, cool. I knew you did.
You want me to start at 6:1, or you want me to go down to where the
Where
angel
you think
starts
you need
talking?
to. I'm going to let you be the judge of that because you're good at that.
Okay, I'll go down to 4. So this is 2 Baruch 6:4. And I beheld, and lo, 4 angels standing at the 4 corners of the city. Each of them so to back up,
Yes.
without reading all of Baruch, what's happening here is the city's about to be destroyed. The temple's the first temple, I believe.
In
Not the tent tabernacle,
587 BC.
Yeah. So
Yes.
the temple's about to be destroyed, and what's happening is 4 angels have descended in order to take all of the implements of the temple. So 2 Baruch 6:4, and I beheld, and lo, 4 angels standing at the 4 corners of the city, each of them holding a torch of fire in his hands. And another angel began to descend from heaven and said unto them, Hold your lamps, and do not light them until I tell you. For I am the first sent to speak a word to the earth, and to place in it what Yahweh Sebaot has commanded me. And I saw him descend into the Holy of Holies, and take from thence the veil and the holy ark, and the mercy seat and the 2 tables, and the holy raiment of the priest, and the altar of incense, and the 48 precious stones wherewith the priest was adorned, and all the holy vessels of the tabernacle. And he spoke to the earth with a loud voice, and said, Earth, 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 hear the word of El Elohim, and receive what I commit to you, and guard them until the last times, so that when you are ordered you may restore them, so that strangers may not get possession of them. For the time comes when Jerusalem also will be delivered for a time, until it is said that it is again restored forever. And the earth opened its mouth and swallowed them up.
Isn't that cool? So y'all took care of the articles that were inside within the interior of the Holy of Holies. So for you guys that may be live streaming, you don't know, you're like, what is 2 Baruch? 2 Baruch and the book of Ezra, 1 Baruch, 2 Baruch, the books of Ezra is included in the Sefer. It's the restored Apocrypha, which was removed by who?
Lots of different folks throughout the years. Different denominations, different churches,
Publishers. Just 'cause they were cheap.
publishers.
Yeah, publishers. And a lot of it was the Catholic Church as well, but the Catholic Church has restored some of it back into their scriptures.
Some of it, yeah.
So Baruch was a scribe to Jeremiah. So he wasn't just some fly-by-night guy. He was literally Jeremiah's scribe. He knew everything that was going on. And to me, he almost sounds like a Joshua with Moshe. He had been in the presence of Yah so much that Yah really spoke to him. You can take
He
the book
deeply
of
cared about what happened to the temple.
Yes, oh, he did. He and Ezra, their hearts were so much alike, and they were actually friends. They were contemporaries. They were friends. So their hearts are very much alike, and you can read through through Baruch and Ezra, and they're almost mirror each other. It's just amazing. Okay. I'm gonna finish through 25. Would you read 26 when we get there? Okay. So Yah is going to meet with the high priest here on top of the Holy of Holies at the arcing point.
That's what it
That
seems
that
like.
is pretty cool. And he's going to give the high priest instructions here. And he said, "And you shall make a table of acacia wood, 2 cubits long and a cubit wide and a cubit and a half high." So we have here. Oh, look at that! All of my figures have just smeared into eternity. So if we've got 2 cubits, we've got, that's right, exactly right, 36 inches. She gets so smart. She didn't get that after you, Seth.
Trained her.
I don't know.
It can't be from you. Okay, it's a cubit wide, so it's 18 inches wide on the top. And then it's going to be a cubit and a half high, so 2 feet.
Mhm.
And you shall overlay it with clean gold, and you shall make a molding of gold around the edge. So like a parapet, like on top of the roof, to keep things from rolling off or falling off, you're going to make a little ledge of gold. And you shall make for it a rim of a handbreadth, which would be, well, put your hand up here, because it's going to be, everything here is going to be a man's size. It's not going to be a woman's size. It's going to be the hand width of a man.
About like that,
Yep.
which is about
Yep.
4.5 inches. I guess.
I've got pretty masculine hands. I better not put mine up there. If mine are wider than yours, I'm going to be embarrassed. I'm going to be like, oh, who put their hand up here?
That just means you know how to work.
Wait. Okay, and you shall make a gold molding for the rim all around, and you shall make for it 4 rings. Here we go, 4 more rings of gold, and you shall put the rings on the 4 corners that are at its 4 legs. Boy. Okay, the rings are close to the rim as to hold for the poles to lift the table. And you shall make the poles of acacia wood, overlay them with gold, and the table shall be lifted with them. And you shall make its dishes and its ladles and its jars and its bowls for pouring, and make them of clean gold. And so we've got the bowls, we've got the ladles, we've got everything up there that Yah told them to make. And you shall make a lampstand of clean gold. And the lampstand is made of beaten work. Its base and its shaft, its cups, its ornamental knobs and blossoms are from it. And 6 branches shall come out of its sides, 3 branches of the lamp out of one side, 3 branches out of the lampstand on the other side, 3 cups made like almond flowers on one branch, with ornamental knobs and blossom, 3 cups made like almond flowers on the other branch. So for the 6 branches coming out of the lampstand, there's going to be 18 cups. It doesn't say it there, but there will be 18 cups on the 6 branches. And on the lampstand itself are 4 cups made like almond flowers with ornamental knobs and blossom, and a knob under the first 2 branches of the knob, and a knob under the second 2 branches of the same, and a knob under the third 2 branches of the same, according to the 6 branches coming out of the lampstand. Their knobs and their branches are of the same, all of them one beaten work, clean gold. And you shall make 7 lamps for it, and they all mount.
I'm sorry, how many lamps did you say?
7?
Really? You should make 7 lamps for it. huh?
7.
See, there's this group of people who have borrowed an identity, and they use a menorah, but it doesn't have 7. How many does it have? Does anybody know?
Alright.
Oh, interesting. But it says here 7, huh? Just a thought, I'd point that out.
Now they do use the 9 as their Hanukkah lamp, and they use the menorah. They do
that
still
one's
use the
not in
menorah.
here.
No, there is no place in there to make a 9-lamp menorah
Or do a Hanukkah.
or do Hanukkah. You're absolutely right. No place in there does Yah command us to do
I guess
Hanukkah.
if you borrow identities, that's what you'd end up with.
And okay, so you know, Ashton, you're gonna have to explain that because you brought it up. Now,
So-
explain yourself.
So there's a common belief that people who use the identity of Jew or Jewish or Judaism are the Israelites that are described in the Bible. And I would suggest that if you look at the practices that are carried out by that religion, you will find they don't match this Bible at all.
No.
And so what I was referring to is this menorah, as laid out by Yahweh, is specifically 7 branches. And yet, if you look on the flag of the political nation of the religion in question, you'll find that there's a 9-branch menorah. And you'll also find that there's a star that is not also mentioned in this Bible, except one time. And it's called the Star of Remphan.
Okay, would
So-
you please explain who Remphan is?
Yeah,
So, guys,
absolutely.
everything has been distorted in the Word. I mean, just about everything. So we're not supposed to worship these
No.
people of Yasharel. No, the land is his land. But the people, and I'm going to step back, there is a remnant. There's always a remnant.
Always
He
a remnant.
always has a remnant. So there's a remnant that's still there,
Mm-hmm.
and they're probably holding fast to what the word says, to what the scriptures say.
Mm-hmm.
But the majority of these people over there are not his original people.
Correct.
They're
The Star of Remphan is it's what is called the Star of David, which does not exist in the scriptures. But there is a star referred to in the scriptures known as the Star of Remphan or the Star of Moloch. And that is exactly who's being referred to as Moloch. And he is a deity to which children are sacrificed. And he accepts blood sacrifices, and he could also be referred to as Baal. So,
evil. It's just evil.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm gonna run over here to Revelation
let's do that.
1, and I'm gonna read starting in 20. I've got to get a new Bible. The secret of the 7 stars which you saw in my right hand and the 7 golden lampstands. The 7 stars are the messengers of the 7 assemblies.
So I never changed it to 9. It stayed 7. Huh?
It was even in the very back of the book. It's still 7. In fact, even in the back of the book, it still says you have to be obedient to His commands. Isn't that something?
It is something.
Oi, okay. And the 7 lampstands which you saw are 7 assemblies. So this is representing the 7 assemblies, the 7 messengers.
7 angels.
It's the 7 angels. So the.
Seven's very important.
Isn't it interesting that the solar eclipse that we've got coming up is literally 7 years from the first one that came up
And the sign of Revelation.
and the sign of Revelation, and there are 7 towns of Nineveh that it goes through. 7, 14, and there's 14 Salems. I didn't know that part.
Or actually, it's 13, but it goes through one of them twice. So one branch goes through 7, and the other goes through 7 more.
So Nineveh, I mean, as in the day of Noah, and the prophecy for Nineveh. What did Jonah say when he went to Nineveh?
He had 40 days to repent.
40 days to repent, or the town's going to be destroyed. Do y'all know that we've got a Nineveh in our backyard?
Mm-hmm.
It's over there between like Centerville and Oakwood.
Mm-hmm.
Right here.
The clip's going to go right over it.
It is. What's going right over us?
Sure is.
We're going to be right here in it. I called my brother and he was like, we're going to see the eclipse.
That'd
I
be
called him
awesome.
about it. It is. Okay, here we go. And its snuffers and their trays are of clean gold, and it is made of a talent of clean gold with all of these utensils. So see, and do according to the pattern which was shown to you on the mountain. Now, I'm not seeing a size for the menorah. Did you?
I don't know that it's here.
It's made of a talent of gold.
Yeah, I think perhaps.
That's pretty big.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Is it in the you're in the
Yeah,
Sefer?
I was wondering if no, I don't think it would be in the Sefer. I was going to suggest perhaps that when Solomon builds his temple, maybe he lays out the measurements he used.
Oh, we could look at that. We sure could.
'Cause I don't
I'm gonna
think
look in here
it's-
later.
It's
Spell menorah.
MENORAH. There are
MENOR.
There are other spellings, but that's the most common English spelling. That's interesting. It doesn't lay it out here.
I know. So when you go the Knesset, they have the menorah there, and then they also have when you go into the city of Zion, which was David's city, they have the menorah, and it's actually behind casing. But you
That the
can look
Temple
and see it.
Institute is recreated.
But
Is that one?
it's about like
I suspect that
6 foot or 5 foot. It's big.
there's a layout also in Ezekiel of temple measurements, isn't there?
There is, but I
So,
don't recall seeing
it probably
the
comes
menorah.
from somewhere later, but yeah, I don't
I have to
either.
go digging.
And
We'll
that
have to go dig.
and that's millennial temple.
Yeah, that's
In
different.
Ezekiel,
Yeah.
completely different temple.
Ezekiel
and-
22 or 44.
Yes, yes. And so I don't believe we hit it. I think we do hit it this time. How big the courtyard is? Do you remember?
I think
It's
the outermost
150.
place is listed here.
Yeah, it's 150 by 75 feet. Okay. Would
Ready for me
you
to
take
read?
over, sir?
I
Since you can
suppose.
read yours and I can't read mine.
26:1. And make the dwelling place with 10 curtains of fine woven linen, and blue and purple and scarlet material. Make them with cherubim, the work of a skilled workman. The length of each curtain is 28 cubits, and the width of each curtain 4 cubits, all the curtains having one measure. 5 curtains are joined to each other, and 5 curtains are joined to each other. And you shall make loops of blue on the edge of the end curtain on one set, and do the same on the edge of the end curtain of the second set. Make 50 loops in the one curtain, and make 50 loops on the edge of the end curtain of the second set, the loops being opposite to each other. And you shall make 50 hooks of gold, and shall join the curtains together with the hooks, and the dwelling place shall be one. And you shall make curtains of goat's hair. For a tent over the dwelling place, make 11 curtains. The length of each curtain is 30 cubits, and the width of each curtain 4 cubits, one measure to the 11 curtains. And you shall join the 5 curtains by themselves, and the 6 curtains by themselves, and you shall double over the 6 curtains at the front of the tent. And you shall make 50 loops on the edge of the curtain that is outermost in one set, and 50 loops on the edge of the curtain of the second set. And you shall make 50 bronze hooks, and put the hooks into the loops, and join the tent together, and it shall be one.
Isn't that interesting? Because a hook is actually a bob, a wah, and a wah is also the word and. So when you see a sentence in Scripture start with and, it's linking that verse to the one before.
That's interesting.
Well, when you were reading that, I tell you what, I get a lot when you're reading, because when I'm reading, I'm reading.
Can't think about it.
Yeah, that's right. And I'm like, that is so cool, because the hooks literally link the whole word together.
Yeah, and it shall be one.
Yes.
I'll have to think of that. So here we go. We keep going with that theory, that
Yes.
idea. And the overlapping part of the rest of the curtains of the tent, the half curtains that remain, shall hang over the back of the dwelling place, and a cubit on one side and a cubit on the other side of what remains of the length of the curtains of the tent is to hang over the sides of the dwelling place on this side and on that side to cover it. And you shall make a covering of ram skins, dyed red for the tent, and a covering of fine leather above that.
Isn't it beautiful? I mean, wouldn't you love, we all went to the tabernacle last year. Jack, I think that's where we met you and Wesley Ann, was there at the viewing of the tabernacle. And even though it was not quite accurate on some things, it was a treasure to see.
It's like a
If they
traveling
wouldn't have
exhibit?
spoke,
Huh?
it would've been nice.
Yeah, if the woman had been silent and hadn't told us all that stuff that was not true, it would have been really
That's
nice.
kind of how I
to
feel about going to state parks and national parks. They've got all the things that are there. And back in 1826, this guy got in a big fight. Well, just get rid of that, because
Yeah.
it's a good place.
But if it would have been like a walkthrough, and you can kind of discuss by yourself.
That'd be awesome.
It
That
would've
would
been
be.
really nice.
Yeah.
I mean, because Jack
He-
had a stuffed animal lamb, and
Yeah.
He slew the lamb.
So I went and I saw
Poor little lamb.
when they had the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Oh,
Jess, did you
wow.
go? You went with me to that, didn't you?
We went to that at the
Yeah.
Theological Seminary.
So we went to, I
Oh,
think it was the
wow.
Dallas Theological
Fort
Seminary.
Worth.
Where?
It was the one in Fort Worth, the Southwest.
Thank y'all
Southwest
for Jess.
Theological Seminary. Yeah.
Get everything wrong.
I know where it is. It's over off of 20, right?
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
having to ask.
Yeah.
So anyway, we went there. They had the traveling exhibit of the Dead Sea Scrolls, and the same thing. You go in, you pay the stupid fee, and you sit down in the big church that they've got there, and the guy just talks and talks and talks and talks. I think it was like an hour and a half where the guy talked about it all. And then you only get like 10 or 15 minutes to get rushed through the room where they're actually at. They have to be under certain light conditions and stuff. So I would have loved to have spent the hour and a half like going through and looking at the scrolls, and maybe let him talk for 15 minutes. So I know exactly what you mean. That's
Were these the
frustrating.
actual Dead Sea Scrolls?
Yeah, they were the
Oh,
fragments
wow.
of
You didn't get to
of
see
them.
it.
No.
But you
He
did.
was a
He
baby.
was young. Yeah.
Yeah,
You're
And
he
they
would,
had the Book of Kells, parts of the Book
they
of
had the
Kells
actual
there.
Book of Kells.
Yeah, it was the Book of Kells.
Yeah.
So that was really neat to get to see.
That
Oh,
was what I was
wow.
more
Yeah.
interested
Maybe
in
we
seeing
should-
at that
Wait, how do you
particular
spell
time.
that?
Kells.
It's the really beautiful one that's got all of the pictorials in
Yeah,
it. that's
Celtic.
Celtic.
I know. I'm like,
Yeah.
that sounds like.
No, it's not still there. This was a traveling exhibit.
Okay.
Yeah, the Book of Kells is back in Ireland, I'm sure.
Wow.
We'll
Yeah,
have to keep an eye out to see if they come back through again. I'm sure they'll
that
come
was
back
10
through at
plus
some
years
point.
ago, but yeah.
Wow. That is so cool. Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
No, no
interrupt
worries.
you.
Let's see here. Where was I?
15.
15. And for the dwelling place, you shall make the boards of acacia wood standing up. 10 cubits is the length of a board, and a cubit and a half the width of each board. 2 tenons in each board for binding one to another. Do the same for all the boards of the dwelling place. And when I think about this, it makes me think that maybe these boards could be rolled up so they'd be easier to
It
transport.
sounds like it
because they're
does.
tying them together.
So is it the end of the board, or is it the side of the board?
It just says 10 cubits is the length of a board, and a cubit and a half the width of each board. That's a pretty wide board.
Yeah, it is.
2 tenons in each board for binding one to another.
I think it is on the side. It would have to be on the
It
side.
would have to be, yeah.
Yeah.
Do the same for all the boards of the dwelling place. And you shall make the boards for the dwelling place 20 boards for the south side, and make 40 sockets of silver under the 20 boards, 2 sockets under each of the boards for its 2 tenons. And for the second side of the dwelling place on the north side, 20 boards. It's interesting to me that the word socket is used. This is what made me think Tesla may have replicated something like this too.
Wow.
Because it keeps talking about sockets and different kinds of metals.
Arc.
Yeah,
Even that term,
Yes.
Tesla, I'm pretty sure originated.
yeah, he did. The
The
arc
way we
coil.
use it today.
Oh, wow.
He called his coil an arcing instrument.
The arc.
Yeah. And there are 40 sockets of silver, 2 sockets under each of the boards. And for the extreme parts of the dwelling place, westward, make 6 boards. And make 2 boards for the 2 back corners of the dwelling place. And they are double beneath, and similarly they are complete to the top to the 1 ring. So it is for both of them, they are for the 2 corners. And they shall be 8 boards, and their sockets of silver 16 sockets, 2 sockets under the one board, and 2 sockets under the other board. And you shall make bars of acacia wood, 5 for the boards on one side of the dwelling place, and 5 for the boards on the other side of the dwelling place, and 5 bars for the boards in the side of the dwelling place for the extreme parts westward, with the middle bar in the midst of the boards going through from end to end. And overlay the boards with gold, and make their rings of gold as holders for the bars, and overlay the bars with gold. So if you think about this in context, you've got sockets under the board connecting the boards to the earth. The boards themselves are overlaid in gold, which creates a potential for a current to flow through the floor.
Best.
Wow.
So you're creating what could potentially be electrified. That's all I'm saying.
Gold is the best conductor.
No, but that is just, and gold is the best conductor. Copper's a good conductor too, isn't it?
And this building appears to be grounded
Silver.
because there are sockets under the boards,
Right.
which would be touching the earth. So
Wow.
the building would be naturally grounded. Just saying. And
So
you shall
cool.
raise up the dwelling place according to its pattern, which you were shown on the mountain. And you shall make a veil of blue and purple and scarlet material, and fine woven linen, the work of a skilled workman made with cherubim. And you shall put it on the 4 columns of acacia wood, overlaid with gold, their hooks of gold upon 4 sockets of silver. And you shall hang the veil from the hooks, and shall bring the ark of the witness there behind the veil. And the veil shall make a separation for you between the set apart and the most set apart place. And you shall put the lid of atonement upon the ark of the witness in the most set apart place. And you shall set the table outside the veil, and the lampstand opposite the table on the side of the dwelling place toward the south, and put the table on the north side. And you shall make a covering for the door of the tent, of blue and purple and scarlet material, and fine woven linen made by a weaver. And you shall make for the covering 5 columns of acacia wood, and overlay them with gold, their hooks of gold. And you shall cast 5 sockets of bronze for them.
I wonder how they got the materials. So you've got purple, you've got blue, and you've got scarlet. Which one of those was made with the worm? Was that the scarlet?
I think, yeah, it would have been the scarlet.
The blue
and it-
was made with the rock.
Yeah,
With a rock?
The same thing that they did in Babylon.
it's a type of
Dye
a
to get out
gate.
the rock in the desert.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
a type of a gate, I believe.
Wow.
Interestingly enough,
And maybe the purple was the blue and the red together?
Mixed together.
Purple is a unique color because of how
Yeah.
difficult it is.
very rare.
The way it was throughout most of the ancient world you got it was a certain type of shellfish. But the shellfish was
I have
highly
read that.
poisonous. So it was very difficult to get purple, which is why it's associated with royalty. It's the
Wow.
hardest color you could get your hands on.
A lot of slaves died doing it, huh?
Yeah.
No, specialists, because you had to have special equipment. So it was
Wow.
very specialized merchants.
Yeah, and you know how Hasatan does the opposite of everything that
Yes.
that Yahweh does, or he mimics him.
He's a great
He
mimicker.
loves to mimic. So in the York Rite, there is a degree that all of this is replicated to a degree, specifically the veils. And so it is I can't remember which specific degree, but it's the most important one in the first section of the York Rite degrees. And in this particular degree, they replicate these exact colors and these exact curtains. And then as you go through the period of the degree,
With the cherubim on them?
that's at the end.
Oh.
But these veils are used as you go through these particular veils as part of the degree. More secrets are told to you, if you will, as you go through each series of veils. But it is exactly replicated from this particular book of Exodus, and it's disgusting now that I see it.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a complete mockery of Yahweh.
But truly, as we read through Scripture, we see his mockery throughout.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in everything he's done.
Absolutely.
Okay. Did you just finish that?
That was the end of 26. Yeah.
Would you like to keep going?
Sure.
You're doing so good.
27:1. And you shall make a slaughtering place of acacia wood, 5 cubits long and 5 cubits wide.
Whoa, how big is that?
That's big.
About 7.5 feet?
Mhm.
By 7.5 feet?
Sounds like it.
Wow. Okay.
Oh, is she writing these measurements as we go?
Yeah.
Oh,
She
I'll
is.
stop when I come across a measurement then. And you shall make its and the height 3 cubits. Did you get that?
So 3 cubits would be 4.5 feet. So it's going to be 4.5 feet tall. 4 and 1. Yep, there you go.
So, and in the Scottish Rite, there's a degree where you
She's
have
not
an
kidding.
altar with horns on it that's identical to that, and you have to hold the horns to go through the degree. Yeah, it's the whole thing's a mockery of Yahweh. And you shall make its horns on the 4 corners.
This is fascinating because I didn't know all this
Yeah.
about it. Okay.
Its horns are of the same, and you shall overlay it with bronze. And you shall make its pots to receive its ashes, and its shovels, and its basins, and its forks, and its fire holders. Make all its utensils of bronze. And you shall make a grating for it, a bronze network, and shall make on the network 4 bronze rings at its 4 corners, and shall put it under the rim of the slaughter place beneath, so that the network is halfway up the slaughter place.
What is that? It's a grill.
Oh, it's a grill, yeah.
It is a grill. So,
This will all fall through.
yeah, so it doesn't fall down into the ashes. So the priest,
a similar one right
there you go.
Yeah.
It's just like this. Well, what we're going to do when we get close to the end is we're going to pick the computer up, disconnect it from the microphone because we still have an internal mic. And we're going to walk around and show all this to you because it's really, really fascinating. And Bailey is going to give you a tour. She's like,
Bailey just gave us the look that says, no, Vicky will give us the tour.
she's like, what?
All right.
So guys, there was a commandment that the Pharisees totally twisted about when they said, your followers, they don't even wash their hands before they eat. They're sinful. Was that a commandment?
Well, yes, but it was a commandment for the priest.
Thank you.
For the priest,
It was
yeah.
only for the priest.
Correct.
Why was it given to the priest?
To be ritually pure.
Okay, what were they handling here?
The
Food.
sacrifices, yeah.
They were handling the food.
Slaughtering animals.
They were-
Animals' blood.
They were slaughtering animals. They had water there to wash their hands. But the thing is that they're going to eat this. And the person who has given this offering, if it's not a sin offering, if it's a sin offering, that person doesn't get it to eat any of it. He's bringing the sin offering. He's going to leave
Yeah.
it. But now, if it's a Thanksgiving offering, a sending offering is not going to get to eat. But Thanksgiving
Absolutely.
or peace,
And you could take it a step further, too. I mean, what was Yahweh very focused on? Do not be like the nations around you. What did
That's
all the
right.
pagan priests do? They covered themselves in blood. They had blood on their hands,
Ugh.
etc. So not only do we have the wisdom of Yahweh in
Caitlin's like, ugh.
removing the bloodborne diseases and not having
yeah.
the priests susceptible to those, but we're also not mimicking the pagan nations around us, and we're making sure we stay clean when we're doing these things.
And guys, there was blood everywhere in here. So next week, I love next week's Torah portion. It gets into the ephod stones, but it also gets into the incense, I believe. How they purified and kept the flies out of the. I mean, there was never a fly in the tabernacle.
There's a beautiful incense in next week's portion, and don't remake it. It clearly says don't make that.
Do
incense.
not make it. And I've seen a lot of Christian people. Hey, I've got the incense that Moshe
I almost
used.
bought some. I did. I was looking on Amazon. I was like, okay, well, I know there's incense in the scriptures, so I went looking for different types of incense. I found a recipe, and I was like, okay, well, I'm going to make some of this. So I started looking for the stuff to make it, and then I went and I read the scripture just to see if there were more details, and I got to the part where it says, "You will be cursed if you use this. And I went, oh.
I think I mentioned that because I've been
Yeah.
reading it, and I was like,
Yeah, maybe
I'm
Kaylin
pretty
mentioned it to
sure
me,
That's
so-
not one you should be
Yeah.
making.
Daddy, what are you doing?
So I
I'm
didn't.
making the incense. You
Um,
know, we're going to purify you and me and our
Yeah,
house.
well, I was.
Daddy, you might not want to do that.
That's what I was planning to do, is make an anointing oil out of this incense. And then when I read it and read it thoroughly, it says absolutely not. I'm not a Levitical priest, and I shouldn't even be handling this oil, much less
No.
making it. So
No. So it is the incense itself is just beautiful. I mean, what it does for, and everything was anointed with it.
indeed.
Okay, I'm sorry to stop
No.
you there, but that was good.
No
Thanks.
worries. I think I'm at 27:6.
Yes.
And you shall make poles for the slaughter place, poles of acacia wood, and shall overlay them with bronze. And the poles shall be put in the rings, and the poles shall be on the two sides of the slaughter place for lifting it. Make it hollow with boards, as it was shown to you on the mountain, so they are to make it. And you shall make the courtyard of the dwelling place. For the south side screens for the courtyard made of fine woven linen, 100 cubits long for one side. So how long is that? For your courtyard, Bailey? That's a whole...
150.
Yeah,
150 feet.
150 feet for
Is
the
your outer-
south side of the courtyard.
Oh, wait, really?
For the south side screens for the courtyard made of fine woven linen 100 cubits long for one side.
It's 150. Okay.
And it's 20. It doesn't look like we're getting to the next one. It looks like the north side is also 100 cubits long.
So 150 down there. So guys, what you have to understand is that the tabernacle was set up with it facing the east. Okay, so you've got the length on the top and the bottom, on the north and the south, but the east and the west are going to be,
50 cubits.
which
So-
is 75 feet. So you've got 150 by 75. Look at you, girl. And if you can see, this is our artist on her knees over here, just taking care of everything. Come over here, baby. So when you start seeing all the
This is your
artwork,
art.
when you start seeing all the artwork, this is our little artist. And our other one had a different study today, so she
Yeah.
couldn't be here, so she didn't even get to help.
She's done
So
an
you
amazing
were
job.
the solo artist. It's beautiful. Everything
you,
she's
Bailey.
done has been amazing.
Yeah, it really is. When y'all see it, you're gonna be amazed. She's done an incredible job.
It is, I mean, it is just beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, and it's 20 columns and their 20 sockets of bronze, the hooks of the columns and their bands of silver. And so for the north side in length screens 100 cubits long, with its 20 columns and their 20 sockets of bronze, and the hooks of the columns and their bands of silver. And the width of the courtyard on the west side screens of 50 cubits, with their 10 columns and their 10 sockets, and the width of the courtyard on the east side 50 cubits. And the screens on one side of the gate 15 cubits, with their 3 columns and their 3 sockets. And on the other side, screens of 15 cubits with their 3 columns and their 3 sockets. So we'll have to have her put that in there too. And for the gate of the courtyard, a covering 20 cubits long, of blue and purple and scarlet material, and fine woven linen made by a weaver, 4 columns and 4 sockets. Now, another thing, and this continues with the idea of frequency and electricity. Linen is the highest frequency cloth I'm aware of.
Well, it's interesting because it's 5,000 is the frequency for linen. So
Hertz,
is
yeah.
wool. Wool's 5,000 as well.
Isn't wool negative 5,000?
It's not. It's a positive 5,000.
Okay.
So both wool and linen, but they're different.
different
It's like Kaylin was talking last week. You've got the linen comes from
One's plant and one's animal.
flax,
Yeah.
and then the wool comes from the animal. So you
Right.
can't mix the two.
It's mixing kinds.
It's mixing different kinds. You're
Yeah.
right.
That's what the Nephilim were doing.
Bad boys.
Yeah. And for the gate of the courtyard, a covering 20 cubits long. Oh, I just read that.
Hey Bailey, would you make the gateway? It's going to be 20 cubits. So how many is 20 cubits? This is a test. 20.
Times
What's
18.
what's half of 20?
10,
Okay, and half of 10?
360.
It's going to be 35. 35 feet. Mm-hmm. Right. So
Well, I had the same number, so I'm.
it's 20 cubits. So you've got at least 20 feet, plus another half would be 10, plus half of that be, you've got 35.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Math in my head is not my favorite.
It's my favorite. I love math. You like math?
No, he likes history.
35 foot.
35 foot. So that's going to be your
That's a
gate.
big gate.
Yes. So how many poles?
Uh,
5?
And the doesn't say the columns around the courtyard. It has columns. It doesn't say the.
It doesn't say it, does it?
Nope, sure doesn't.
Okay, 4 columns. So it's made by a weaver with 4 columns. So it would actually be like, so you would have 1 column on one end, 1 on the other, and probably 2
4
in the
columns
center.
and 4 sockets.
Or you could have 2 on each end. I mean, we don't know because it doesn't really say how they're laid out. But that would be the only entry into the courtyard.
And that's where Yahusha stood. There is one mention in the entirety of Scripture about Hanukkah, and it does not say, and this is critical,
That's right.
it does not say that Yahusha went to the temple to
you know where
celebrate
it is?
Hanukkah, but it does say that on Hanukkah, when the Jewish traditions were celebrating Hanukkah, which is not scriptural, that Yahusha happened to be standing in front of the gate,
have my phone.
and then he was admonished by the Pharisees for something that doesn't come to mind. But he did not go in, and he was not celebrating Hanukkah, so something to keep in mind.
And the reason that Ashton is bringing that up, I'm assuming the reason you're bringing it up, is that a lot of people have actually substituted Christmas, which is very pagan, with Hanukkah,
Exactly.
which is equally pagan.
Absolutely.
Okay? Now, there's a lot of assumptions brought about from Maccabees that it was the celebration of light, which is, light's always good. Y'all are lights. You are salt. You're salt and light. But this is not something that we should be celebrating, and we definitely don't need to bring anything back in where you're giving gifts. Who are you celebrating? I'm going to give you a gift because we're going to celebrate our Savior. How is that celebrating our Savior?
It's not.
I'm just asking that question. It's not a celebration of Him. It is a selfish, I want to give you a gift because I know if I give you a gift, you're going to give me one back, right? I'm sorry, go ahead, Mary.
Well, I was just going to say, I thought Hanukkah was their celebration of restoration.
It was the time that the Maccabees restored the temple. They gained possession of the temple back at that point, but the Maccabees were not Jewish, and they claimed to be from the tribe of Yehuda, and they were not.
Seth, can you go to John 10:22?
I'm already out of there.
You were not.
Yeah, well,
The Maccabees are Jewish. They're the source of Judaism. They're not Yehudic.
They're not from the tribe of Yehuda.
Yeah.
They're the tribe of Jews, which, if you are following Hebrew, would have been the Yahs if you're even talking about the tribe of Yehuda, because they were named after Yahusha or Yahweh. Yah.
And they identify
Yeah, well,
themselves and such. I forget where in Matthew, but they say that they were descendants of Abraham, but they'd never been in captivity.
Right.
So that disqualifies them from being.
They literally identify themselves as not the people of the book.
Oh, did they?
Yes.
So
To
they
Yahusha directly.
also claimed somewhere else to have been from the tribe of Yehuda, and there's no tracing them
That's
back.
what Pharisee is, Phares.
and they've also too. There's also a big debate on even if any of the Maccabee revolution stuff even happened to begin
Yes.
with, because there's no Roman
Record of it.
no Roman historical evidence that they ever took over the temple like that, where what's it?
Epiphanes.
No, you're talking about
Antiochus
of
didn't-
Epiphanes, yeah.
There's no Roman history showing that
Yeah.
Antiochus Epiphanes ever did any of that to the Jewish temple.
So the point in all of this is that the book of Maccabees and its provenance is in question. Yeah. Doesn't mean it's not right or it's not
No.
real, but it is in question.
And guys, it is included in the
The
Sefer.
Sefer, yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
Sefer.
And it was
Dr.
included
P's
in-
book,
in,
Dr. Stephen Fitch's book.
To this day, it's included in the Catholic Vulgate, and it's been included in at least 4 or 5 other translations I know of up until the 16th century in the Geneva Bible. It was in the... It's been in several Bibles, but anyway.
But truth is starting to come out. And truth completely changes what we've been taught. Listen, I was taught in a Baptist church.
Yeah.
That's where
I
I
was
was
raised
taught.
in a non-denominational Bible church.
And I was one mad hen when I found out that I had been lied to all those years, and I really was angry because
Well, we're
I
all
didn't
seeking.
have friends to talk to.
We're all searching.
We're all searching.
So
We
our
are
ministry
seeking
is
out
to
truth.
wake those folks up and maybe teach them something they haven't looked at in the scriptures.
That is absolutely true. And where are we reading?
We are in 19.
But we're reading in the front chunk.
Oh yeah, the front half.
Not
of
the
book.
back sliver, because the majority of your seminary students are teaching only this much.
Most of them are just teaching Paul.
Yeah,
Most of them
because
wipe out
they've
everything
twisted
else.
Paul's writings. But isn't it sad that Peter warns everyone? He's like the unlearned. Well, let's read that really quick. I just want to read that really quick. Sorry.
Peter.
Peter leaves us with the fact that when the resurrection happens, there will be "I told you so"s.
Okay, so this is what Peter says about Paul's letters. He is not saying Paul is a false prophet.
No,
He's not saying that Paul is a false teacher. But what he is saying is, he said, so, this is in 2 Peter 3, and I'm starting in 14 for those of you live streaming. So then, beloved ones, looking forward to this, do your utmost to be found by him in peace, spotless and blameless, which means you're being obedient to Torah. Reckon the patience of our Master as deliverance, as also our beloved brother Shaul wrote to you, according to the wisdom given to him. He is not saying that rascal
He's
Shaul.
not saying he's wrong.
No, he's saying as our beloved, he loved Paul.
He does call out, and I'll just point this out because this is a question that comes up with all people. You know, is my walk right? Is your walk right? If we have conviction to do one thing or another, what he specifically says there, and it's very clear, according to the wisdom given to him. So the way that the Ruach gave him to see things.
And the Ruach used him in a different way than he used those from the tribe of Yehuda.
And the other apostles.
That's exactly right. So he says, as also in his letters. These were letters. All of Paul's writings are letters. They're not books.
And we only
he
have
is not
one
coming out with
side.
a great teaching. We only know what he
Don't
wrote
know what he was
back.
responding to.
That's it. Well, we do know that in Rome, the
Yeah.
letters he wrote to Rome, they never even received till they brought him into Rome in handcuffs. That's when they hadn't received them then. We don't know who had his letters there. So, as also in all his letters, speaking in them concerning these matters in which some are hard to understand, which those who are untaught and unstable twist to their own destruction, as they do also the other scriptures. You then, beloved ones, being forewarned, I'm telling you up front, beware of Paul's letters. If you do not, what he's saying here, guys, the untaught and the unstable do not know the front of the book.
Yeah, you need to know the book.
You cannot understand Paul's writings, his letters, unless you know what the front of the book says, because he quotes the front of the book. He loves the Torah. He graduated from under Gamaliel as a rabbi.
Yeah.
He
He refers to himself more than once as a perfect Pharisee.
Yeah, and rabbi. And this is why he wrote to the rabbis in the synagogues to tell them that Talmud is bad. The Torah is good.
Yeah.
It's like kind of like Haman and what's the other guy in Esther? Haman and Malachi.
I like Malachi.
I do too. So
That's a fire and brimstone book.
it really is. Your own stead. He said, "You then, beloved ones, being forewarned, let watch, unless you also fall from your own steadfastness, being led away with the delusion of the lawless."
Yeah.
The very word lawless means without Torah.
That's correct. Lawless means without Torah, and lawfulness means with Torah.
That's exactly right. So the man of law would have been Yahuwah, Yahusha, who walked out the law. The lawless one that is spoken about in Scripture that is coming, who is that? It's a Jesus that they're teaching. And I know I'm going to get some blowback from that. But guys, listen, if someone shows up, he calls himself Jesus, and he says, I'm here, I'm going to save the world, run.
Yeah, it's the things being
It
taught
is
in
not
that
our
name.
Savior.
It's the things being taught in that name. And to,
Yeah,
be,
that's
to be
right.
clear, you know, the Messiah that's listed in a book that calls him JC, it's a changing of the name. It's not that the words that are in the Bible are wrong, or it's not the same entity. It's that you can go back into history, and without getting down a really deep rabbit hole, you can see where that name was created and it was added. And so what the things that were done in the name of our Messiah have had that name added to them. And so those things were done, they were real, and it is the right entity that did those things in our book, our Messiah Yahusha. But that name has been added at a later time, and those things are being done in his name by a lawless entity. And
Right.
it's that lawlessness that makes that name problematic.
Well,
Just to
it's
be
just
clear.
the apostles. Who were the apostles? What name were the apostles preaching about?
Yahusha.
And, I mean,
What
they
name
weren't-
did his mama give him? Listen, that they
Well,
had just
and
had.
also that goes back to John 5:43, right? I've come in my Father's name. You
In my
cannot
Father's
receive
name.
me. If I come in another's name, you receive.
That's exactly right. And listen, guys,
And that's what's important.
a woman from the tribe of Yehuda would not have given her son a Greek name. The Greek were very. There was a lot of fighting going on. There was a lot of crucifixion and infighting going on during Yahusha's time. She wouldn't have given him a Greek name,
Well,
especially if the Greek
Yeah.
uprisal had just happened in 287 and they had indeed killed the people like it's described in Maccabees.
I'll put it
She
in
would
a
not have done
3 minute or less nutshell if I can. Let me think of how to summarize this real quick. So one of the commandments is do not bring my father's name to naught. So that means that he wants his father's name spoken correctly. And so you need to understand that his father has a name, and his name is not, a title. And so then would it not make sense that the son would also have a name? And so where does this name, Jesus Christ, come from? Let's talk about that for just a brief second. The name comes specifically from the Council of Nicaea in 300 AD, when the Roman Emperor Constantine was trying to determine, how do I want the Roman Empire to worship? And what he wanted to do was bring this new Christian church, as it's referred to today, and the old pagan ways together. And when he melded those, for about literally a year, tons and tons and tons of different people, both from the pagan side and the new church side, sat in a council, and they were given the instructions by the emperor to come up with a new name for the entity that they would worship. Many, many names were presented. And this is all historical. This is all you can reference everything I'm saying. It's all historical fact. And so when Constantine came back, he discovered they had not yet come to a name. And so he made the decision to unify two names. The first name was Iesus, which is a Greek name, Iseous, and Krishna, which is the Indian deity that is known for the Hindus. And he came up with the name Iesus Krishna. And so that is the original origin of a name that eventually, through translations, became Jesus Christ. And that's where that name comes from. And if anyone has questions about that, please feel free to reach out to us. We have a contact us page. You can put something in the comments. I'd be happy to talk with you on that, and I can give you details, show you references both through church theological history as well as secular history, exactly where the origins of that name comes from and how it moves forward.
That's
and
right.
so when the comment is made that he could come in that name of Jesus Christ as the lawless one, that's what's being referenced. So be clear on who the Messiah in the scriptures are versus this name of an entity that's been created by man, because that's literally what Yahweh says when he says that the lawless one will come. So that's what's being referenced. If I encapsulated that in
That is
the way you'd agree
perfect.
with.
That is absolutely perfect. And I'm going to carry it one step further with what Jack was bringing up in John 17. And would you pull up Psalms 22 in John 17 verse 6. This is Yahusha. He said, I have revealed your name to the men whom you gave me of the world. They were yours, and you gave them to me, and they have guarded your word. Your word being him. They've guarded Yahusha. They've guarded his Torah. But Yahusha himself revealed the name of his Father to his apostles. His name is Yahweh. It is not God, and it certainly is not Lord. And it's really not Adonai.
Yeah, the etymology of Lord is the name Baal. And Yahweh says throughout the scripture, stop calling me Baalim or Baali or Baal. And God is a name of a Teutonic pagan deity. It's not, those are titles. And it's the commandment is do not bring my name to naught. And when you use a title in place of his name, you are bringing his name to naught.
Absolutely. Use his name. He has a name. God or Elohim, he is the Elohim of everything. But that's not his name. I'm a girl. Don't call me girl. You're a boy. I'm not going to call you boy or man. I'm not going to say, hey man.
And
I'm going to say, hey,
people,
Ashton.
you know, some people do get down a rabbit hole where they want to argue about, well, what specifically is that name? And I think there are different arrival points people have come into. Some say Jehovah, some say Yahweh, some say, you know, various different versions of that name. I think what's important is that you're trying to arrive at a name.
That's exactly
and
right.
not a title. And same with Yahusha. You'll see that people refer to him as Yeshua, Yahshua, Yahusha. Those are all derived from Paleo-Hebrew through the current Hebrew. But the point is you're trying to arrive at a correct name. And that's what's important versus a title.
And his name has meaning. The Yod He Wah-He, it means the hand that reveals the hand that reveals the nail scarred hand. Revelation of the nail scarred hand. He who was, he who is, and he who will be.
Yeah.
This is what his name means.
Names are
This
important.
is why it's so important. What does God mean? Tell me, what does God mean?
It's a Teutonic deity.
Oh, it means fortune.
Yeah,
Fortune.
It does actually.
Ah, as Gad. God can mean every god in the Greek mythology. Every
In a
single
modern
one of them.
context, yeah.
Okay, it can mean what is Allah?
That's just another word for God. And
Yeah, just
So guys, God is not our Father's name.
well,
that-
God just means master of fortune.
Yeah, if you want to call him God, that's what he is. Or Elohim would be more appropriate.
yeah, Elohim.
Or Elohim. Elohim would be actually more appropriate, as Stephen Pidgeon has. I think his wording is actually more accurate
Yeah,
than the
page
scriptures.
the page on the back side of the Sefer even says, or I'm sorry, in the back page of Genesis has all of the correct names for Yahweh and,
Oh wow!
and Yahusha, and you can go through and it will show you in the actual Hebrew,
Mm-hmm.
and then it'll show you the Sefer transliteration and then the common translation.
Mm-hmm.
So
That is so cool. So listen, how important is it to get his name right, to do the things the way he says? I'm gonna take you to Matthew 25, 1 through 13. We're gonna do Proverbs 6, 23 and Psalms 119, 142. Everything he said to do, he expects it to be done exactly as he has given it. Just as everything he has told us to do as his beloved, obedient children, he expects you to do it. We're supposed to be his children. If you love him, you're going to keep his commands. So over in 25, and it kind of goes along with what Ashton was just talking about, then the reign of the heavens shall be compared to 10 maidens who took their lamps, which is the word, and went out to meet the bridegroom. And 5 of them were wise, and 5 were foolish. Those who were foolish, having taken their lamps, took no oil. Do you know that oil, when you go back to the Song of Solomon, his name is precious oil. They didn't take the Torah. They didn't take Abba Yah. They had a lamp, but they didn't have what's going to make that lamp work. The wise took oil in their containers with their lamps, and while the bridegroom took time, they slumbered and slept. And at midnight a cry was heard. See, the bridegroom is coming. Go out to meet him. And this is important because we've been engaged to our bridegroom for how many years? 25, 3,500? 3,500 years. It's when we made this commitment, when he said, if you will be my treasured people on top of Mount Sinai, and we said, we will. All that you've said, we will do. We've been engaged to him for 3,500 years. When's the bridegroom coming? Nobody knows. Nobody knows the day or the hour or the time. So,
signs and wonders that indicate we should really be paying attention these
oh
days.
my goodness, and they are happening like rapid fire. Then all those maidens rose up and they trimmed their lamps. And the foolish said to the wise, give us some of the use of your oil, because our lamps are going out. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, their love is dying. It's going cold. But the wise answered, saying, no, indeed, there would not be enough for us and you. Instead, go to those who sell and buy for yourselves the Torah. Go find out what his name means. Go understand what the Torah is all about. And while they went to buy, the bridegroom came, and those who were ready went in with him to the wedding feast, and the door is shut. Guys, you have to make yourselves ready. You can't depend on the Christian teaching is, well, I don't have to do anything. Yahusha's already done it. I just ride his robe into heaven, right? You better make yourselves ready. It is your righteousness that gets you to the door. It is their wisdom in following Torah and being obedient to his Torah that got them to keep their lamps full of oil.
They were prepared.
They were prepared. You have to be prepared. And while they went to buy, the bridegroom came, and those who were ready went in with him to the wedding feast, and the door was shut. This will be exactly what happens when our bridegroom comes. Later, the other maidens also came saying, Master, Master. They don't even know his name. Master means Baal. Baal, Baal. Open up for us. They don't know his name. His name's Yahusha. Yahusha, open up for us. But he answering and said, Truly, I say to you, I don't know you. I don't know you. You obviously don't know me. You don't even know my name. Watch therefore, because you do not know the day nor the hour in which the Son of Adam is coming. For it is like a man going from home who called his own servants. And you go on in through here, but with another parable. But guys, this is what's going to happen one day. Abba is very specific. He has a name, and he has a set of commandments that he wants to be followed.
Proverbs 6:23. For the command is a lamp, and the Torah a light, and reproofs of discipline a way of life, to guard you against an evil woman from the flattering tongue of a strange woman. Do not desire her prettiness in your heart, neither let her captivate you with her eyelids, for because of a whore one is brought to a crust of bread, and an adulteress hunts a precious life. Would a man take fire to his bosom and his garments not be burned? How far am I going?
You're good. So the lamp, the Torah is a lamp unto your feet.
Yeah.
It's a guide for your path.
Your righteousness is righteousness forever, and your Torah is truth. Psalms 119, 142, right?
Yes, that was perfect. Okay. So, guys, we have, well, actually, let's go to Ezekiel. Would you read Ezekiel 43, 10 through 27? And we already read Matthew, the portion in Matthew.
Yeah.
But Ezekiel is really neat. It is not much, and we're going to be done.
Ezekiel 43, 22. Is that what you said?
It's actually 10 through 27.
Okay, Ezekiel 43, 10 through 27. Son of man, explain the house of Israel, and when they are ashamed of their crookedness, they shall measure the measurements. And since they shall be ashamed of all that they did, make known to them the design of the house and its structure, and its exits and its entrances, its entire design and all its laws, and all its forms and all its Torah. And write it down before their eyes, so that they observe its entire design and all its laws, and shall do them. This is the Torah of the house.
All of the law and shall do them? Is that what you just said? Okay.
That's what it says.
Guys, this is millennial. What Ashton is reading is millennial.
Yeah, this is Ezekiel looking forward. This is the Torah of the house. Upon the mountaintop, all the boundary of it, all around, is most set apart. See, this is the Torah of the house. And these are the measurements of the slaughter place in cubits, that cubit being 1 cubit and a handbreadth, and the base 1 cubit high and 1 cubit wide, with a rim all around its edge of 1 span. And this is the upper part of the slaughter place.
This is the cubit that is the 20 inches. So
the temple
that cubit being 1 cubit plus a handbreadth. So it would be that on a man, not mine, but on a man. So it would be about 20 inches.
That makes sense.
That is so
'Cause
cool
said
that you
that's
looked that
about
up.
4 inches, and the cubit's 18, and that makes
Yep,
sense.
there you go.
22. And from the base on the ground to the lower edge 2 cubits, and the width of the ledge 1 cubit, and from the smaller ledge to the larger ledge 4 cubits, and the width of the ledge 1 cubit. And the slaughter place hearth is 4 cubits high, and 4 horns extending upward from the earth. And the slaughter place hearth is 12 cubits long, and 12 wide, square at its 4 corners. And the ledge is 14 long and 14 wide on its 4 sides, with a rim of half a cubit around it, and its base 1 cubit all around, and its steps face east. And he said to me, Son of man, thus says the Master Yahweh, these are the laws for the slaughter place on the day when it is made, for offering ascending offerings on it, and for sprinkling blood on it. And you shall give a young bull for a sin offering to the priests, the Levites, who are of the seed of Zadok, who approach unto me, declares the Master Yahweh.
Now, isn't this interesting? What does it say in the Sefer? On that verse, on verse 19? Because this is millennial. Well, in the millennial reign, there will still be sin. Okay, so that's what that is all about. Because he says, you shall give a young bull for a sin offering to the priest, the Levites, who are the seed of Zadok. Only the seed of Zadok will reign and rule as the high priest once we go into the millennial reign. Because they're the only ones. Zadok is of the seed of Aharon, but it was only the Zadok priests that what? They did not defile the temple.
It basically says the same thing. And you shall give to the priest of the Levium to be of the seed of Zadok, which approach unto me to minister unto me, says Adonai Yahweh, a young bullock for a sin offering.
So that's what it is. There will still be sin offering during the millennial reign. I mean, according to Ezekiel. I'd like to pull that up on the interlinear because I agree with you that Yahushua was the final sacrifice for sin. But here in the millennial reign, it is speaking of this. Does anyone have the interlinear? No? I
We
do.
have a stack of them, but we can't grab
Yeah, I know. Let's see. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I will look this up.
them. And you shall take some of its, this is going back to 43:20 in Ezekiel. And you shall take some of its blood and put it on the four horns of the slaughter place, on the four corners of the ledge, and on the rim around it, and shall cleanse and make atonement for it. And you shall take the bull of the sin offering, and shall burn it in the appointed place of the house, outside the set apart place. And on the second day you bring a male goat, a perfect one for a sin offering. And they shall cleanse the slaughter place as they cleansed it with the bull. When you have ended cleansing it, bring a young bull, a perfect one, and a ram from the flock, a perfect one. And you shall bring them before Yahweh, and the priest shall throw salt on them and offer them up as an ascending offering to Yahweh. Prepare a goat for a sin offering daily for 7 days, and prepare a young bull and a ram from the flock, perfect ones. For 7 days they shall make atonement for the slaughter place and cleanse it and ordain it. And when these days are completed, it shall be on the 8th day and thereafter that the priest make your ascending offerings and your peace offerings on the slaughter place, and I shall accept you, declares the Master Yahweh.
Isn't that interesting? So I'm
That's
going to pull it up. I had too many things popping down on my thing, but we're going to look that up and we're going to clarify that next week because I've always said I didn't think that, but this is millennial. Everyone
Yeah, 'cause
who's
it's a
alive
vision.
goes into the millennial.
It's a vision. It says he's looking forward.
Yep,
That's
to the
interesting.
millennial reign.
Spirit took me up and brought me into the inner courtyard and see the esteem of Yahweh filled the house. So yeah,
But this is not the kingdom. This will be the temple that comes
Yeah,
down.
that's
So
true.
this is
That's
not the
interesting.
kingdom. So this is millennial reign. There's going to be offerings and there will be sin offerings.
something to study there for sure.
It's definitely something to look into, and we're going to. But guys, the whole point behind this is our Father is very specific about what He wants us to do and how He wants us to do it. He's specific when He tells us what's food, and He tells us that because He wants you to live long. He wants you to be healthy. He wants you to be able to go out and spread the word of Yah. So He's very specific, and He's specific because He loves you. Everything He's given you is very specific. He doesn't, there's no gray. It's white or black in His commandments. Now, sometimes we get into something that we consider gray because it's something that we haven't really thought about. It's like, sin offerings in the millennial. And that's really, I've read through this. Well, you can tell. You can tell. I've colored it up. So I've read through this, no telling how many times. And yet, I just saw that as a sin offering. And everybody's kind of looking at me with blank looks.
Well, we'll have to study that one.
Yeah, we will. That's going to be interesting.
Yes, Mary? Oh, I thought you were going to say something.
So let's look at Bailey's artwork, and then we will close out with prayer. Is that okay?
For me.
Let's see. Can I do this?